everyone, and welcome to Silver Line Silver Sunday. I'm getting a little echo. Maybe I left something on here. How is everyone this evening?
Very good.
Glad to hear it. I see thumbs up from all the way across the UK.
Thanks.
Somebody check Facebook. Are we good on Facebook?
Yep, we're good.
All right, good. We're good on Twitch. We're good on YouTube. All righty then. So yeah, tonight we're going to talk history and comics, and hopefully we'll have our guest Chuck Dixon joining us. Fingers crossed. Sending him all the links. Haven't heard back from him in a day or two, so hopefully he's just running a little bit late. But we've got other stuff that we're going to cover, like Kickstarters. So look what I hold in my hands, people.
Nice.
I am holding the Rejects and Sniper and Rook. Oh, look at Tommy's got one of the alt covers there. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So I have spent part of the afternoon packaging stuff up. So there's going to be a bunch going out tomorrow. Won't be able to get them all out. I can't. I don't have that many hours before the postal man runs. But get a bunch of them out tomorrow, then hopefully Tuesday, and then maybe any stragglers on Wednesday. So hopefully they'll all be out by the time Wednesday crew rolls around.
All right.
Yes.
Exciting.
It is exciting.
Very
yes.
cool.
And they look really good. You guys are going to be, I think you're going to be really happy and excited to see this. I just absolutely love this cover.
Do a high-speed flip. Yep.
Is that the original? Is that the original cover for it? Is that one of the alternates?
The original? What do you mean by original?
Well, original, like the one that's going out, the one that you're selling on Indie Planet as the basic cover.
No, this is the Kickstarter exclusive.
Oh,
edition.
okay, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the flip books. We don't. None of the flip books are sold after the Kickstarter. Oh, let's see. Let's see if I can do a quick flip. Roberta wants a quick flip.
Really quick flip.
I could go solo with it so you can see me better.
Nice.
I love this first page here. Hold on. Well, shoot.
I know. It never can do it.
Okay, well, we get to stare at one page.
I'll do some.
Love that third page.
Oh, it looks good.
Come on, Roland. Story time's going too fast. You're turning the page too quick.
I can't read it.
I can't read it. Yeah. well.
So maybe
one of my favorite panels right here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Whoop, right here.
that one. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
since I can't see your screen, I'll just look at my own copy that I have right here.
What?
Yeah.
You should be able to see the screen.
Oh no, I
that's
just
good.
I gotta.
Yeah, don't show the ending, but that's good.
Yeah. And then
I'll die.
flip it over,
Oh,
of
man.
course. And we have Sniper and Rook.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's also good looking book.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
It looks so fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. So, and of course, the page that we thank all of our supporters here, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
So you guys start looking for these this week, right? Let me get off of here. Let me see if I can share this screen. Share screen. I want to share a window. Oh, BJ told me. She said, "Hey, when you're sharing, close your tabs. You don't want people to see that you've got 14 Facebook tabs open."
Well, do you share the window,
I-
the program, or the whole screen?
I've shared out of the program, but we were looking the other day, and you could see all of my little tabs open. So you could see I had my email and Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and something else.
You're paying a bill, that kind of thing.
So yeah, all right. I think this is it right here. Yeah, here we go. So this is our current Kickstarter. You guys need to get over there and back that one if you haven't already. We have funded. We've made goal. Our goal was 2,000. We are at 2,178, 57 backers, and we still have 2 weeks to go.
Good.
So Yeah, so I got to go through here and I got to update. I know Barb posted colors for this cover here. This was just kind of a placeholder.
Mhm.
These are Pete's pencils.
Oh, yeah.
This has been inked and colored, and she has colored this one, so I have to update these images. But if you like war comics, which is really appropriate for tonight's topic, right? History. This is what you're getting, a World War II alternate history, kind of World War II spy story. And then Sirens is a horror story set in New Orleans. So get on over there if you have not already. We're going to come up with some stretch goals here. And I don't want to leave studio. I want to stop screen.
Roland, if people wanted to learn more about it, it would be, where could they get a video clip? Maybe they could watch a video clip about how great it is.
I think I have one of those right here. Hi, and welcome to the Kickstarter for Silverline's latest double feature, Wolf Hunter #1 and Sirens #1 Remix. This is our 17th Kickstarter. What? Yes, my mind is blown. We have successfully fulfilled 15 of those, and number 16 is still in progress, so we'll get to 16 successfully. But you're here to know about Wolf Hunter, so I'm going to make room for Tim. Take it away, Tim.
Hi, this is Tim TK. Wolf Hunter is the story of RAF Group Captain James Willard after he's injured in the Blitz during World War II. He is then hired by Churchill to perform counterintelligence operations on English soil, where he will have to locate and neutralize a German spy. During the course of his mission, he'll have to prove to Churchill and to himself that he still has fight in him and he's still the man for the job, even after all he's been through.
Doesn't that sound cool? So the other one we're kickstarting with that is Sirens. Now, Sirens was published in the early 1990s. Silverline was a packager then. Silverline wasn't the publisher, it was the packager. And they went together in double size, but we're going to do them as they were originally intended to be. 4 issues. This is the first issue. So, a horror story of Jeff Delmer in New Orleans who gets trapped in the siren's call, and she's slowly turning him into a zombie. So, you got to read it, back it if you can, share it if you will, and remember to make mine Silverline. Thank you for that reminder, Curtis. I forgot that I had that there. So, yeah,
cool.
you guys, somebody needs to talk to Tim about how to get the circles out of his glasses.
Oh yeah.
Did y'all notice
I
that?
noticed that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he had his ring light set up, and he had these.
Yeah.
So he had these kind of these cyclops looking things. Or no, cyclops would be one eye, wouldn't it? Sorry, wrong thing. So,
Well, now I'm gonna have to go take my pledge away from the Kickstarter. Let me see.
Oh, am I sharing art, by the way?
Yeah, I might as well share some art. Comic Talk with Pops Van Zant says, "Hey Chuck, check your email. Chuck's not here just yet, so
Okay.
we can't share that with him." Fruit Bat says, "Woohoo! What's up, Fruit Bat?" And Royal Airship says, "What a handsome bunch!
Aw.
Almost as good looking as that Wednesday crew."
Oh,
Aw.
boo.
So,
Mhm.
so thank you guys for tuning in and asking the questions. As always, we like the questions because it helps us yak a little bit. So I'll run with some introductions. I'm Roland. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer here, and I've been told I need to wash more pots and pans instead of just bottles. Here we go. Royal Airship says Aaron is really carrying the handsome vibe.
Aw.
Curtis, tell folks who you are.
Sure, I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I'm also a comic book artist and kung fu instructor. So my upcoming comic book for Silverline is called Shadow Ghost. It's the kung fu comic by a kung fu master. And also, I co-host the Comics Fu Show with Patrick Lugo. We have a new episode coming out tomorrow around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. So keep an eye out for it. So that's me.
Very cool. Aaron.
I am
who's normally on
crashing every once in a
Tuesdays.
Well, every once in a while, I'll crash a Sunday,
to
and
see
see how
you,
you guys
Aaron.
are doing, and then disappear for a while.
You got to keep us
Um,
legit, is what it is.
Yeah, I report back to the other Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
Tell them it's spy as it is. Yeah. I joined the Obsoletes, which I have finished the first page of the second issue. I'm starting page 2.
Nice.
I had some other work come in, but I am going to be attempting to do both. So no, I haven't forgot about it. It's working. I did finish. I finally got the last 2 issues on my comic in, so now I have a big stack of comic books.
Yay.
Congratulations.
So now,
That's a
now
great
it feels
accomplishment.
complete, and I'm waiting. I think Tommy's helping me with the other part.
Oh yep.
Yep.
It's all
And,
your order. Yep, we got to get on that.
and then I got some comics from that what was it, Cosmic Time Presents. You had him on your stream a few times.
Oh yeah.
I
Martin
haven't read them
Fierro.
yet. They look awesome. So,
Fierro.
I don't know.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Martin
Yeah.
is absolutely a friend of Silverline.
Yeah,
So, oh, that's a great looking panel there,
yeah.
Isn't
Roberta.
that
Ooh,
cool?
Pendulum?
Oh yeah.
That is
Mhm,
Pendulum.
Pendulum.
Yeah,
Curtis.
nice.
Pendulum.
There's some brownies from
neat.
Curtis here.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah, and speaking of Pendulum, I have been talking to John Drury some, who is the writer, penciler of that, and also who is the penciler of Sirens. And I have been trying to get him to come on with us, but he is so anti-technology. He's probably one of the worst people I've ever known about technology. Literally he's got email, right? The only thing he has Twitter, but he told me the other day, he said, yeah, because I said, yeah, I see your tweets about the poker things. He goes, oh, those are automated. It's like, what? He goes, I never get on there. I'm like, how do you automate your Twitter? Oh, it's some function. Yeah, they just put some cool stuff out so it keeps me active. I'm like, no wonder you never
So,
respond
like
to
he's
my.
active.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like he's active. So yeah, I've been razzing him and telling him he needs to come on, and he's like, how do you do that? And like, the good thing is that his son, who I think is 19, something like that, or maybe 20, I can't remember. His son has been telling him, Dad, you should join him. Dad, you should join him. Dad, you should join him. So we've got his son on our side. So yeah, so hopefully his the wisdom of his son will kick in, and he'll join us. All right, next up is Pete. Pete, tell folks who you are.
I'm just a penciler. Yeah, that's all I do. I keep to myself. I draw what I'm told.
Are you actually drawing with a pencil right now?
I mean, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting right this second to be told, draw that hand. Now draw another hand.
He is, Aaron, because
he's using the because I can't tell if he's using a computer.
Because every now and then you can occasionally hear him use an electric eraser.
I have one.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
Oh yeah.
I don't need to write this
So
because
cool.
I'm on the Wacom.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I draw the Silverline team up, champion of Miss Fury. I'm finishing off now Trump's number 4.
How close are you?
I've done it all now. I've done all the roughs, everything's roughed out. I just got to render the roughs into pencils. So they're all printed out.
All right.
Nice.
So they're all printed out, and which is 5 pages basically. Yeah. So that's done.
Very cool.
And that'll be coming to a Kickstarter near you.
That's right. That's right. Someone was asking me about Trump's the other day, and I told them, I said, we are
just chill.
this
Dude.
close. This close. And you're not feeling so hot today, are you?
No, I've got the COVID at the moment.
Yeah, the COVID. Yep. So
I'm starting to feel a bit hot now under all these lights, but I'm fine.
Well, you do have a jacket on. It looks like.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything else to wear. I
Well,
thought
where's
I'm not going to
your
wear the
royal
dressing gown.
robe?
That's a
Yeah.
bit too long.
Yeah, where's the robe?
Where's your Thanos outfit?
Yeah, you've got a Thanos robe.
Well,
Where's that?
that's even longer. It'll cover me completely. So
Oh. Don't stand up. Is that what you're saying?
I'm fine. Yeah. No, I've got PJs on. I'm cool.
Okay.
I'm respectable. What
Uh,
else? That's it. That's me.
all righty. Roberta, tell people who you
Hi.
are.
Coloring Pendulum at the moment. I am from Malibu Comics originally in the 90s, and I've been coloring for, I'd say, the past couple of years at Silverline now on the Silverline Team Up Champion Miss Fury and this Cat and Mouse series. Both of Roland's, and it's real
Nice.
exciting. Mhm.
It is. Yep.
It's me.
Very exciting. And last but not least, Mr. Thomas Flatamani.
Oh God! Why?
What'd you do to him?
Do you, after all this time, you do not know how to pronounce my name? I don't know what the deal is.
So our friend Jimmy, how do you pronounce his last name?
Palmiotti.
Okay, good.
What?
The last time you said his name, you said Palamati.
Palamati.
I think I think you've been riding your bike too much, and you've got a little heat stroke going on. I think.
That's because you're trying to get me to ride out there with all those snakes.
I know. That was fun. That was fun. Oh no. My name is Thomas Floramonte. Been doing comics since early '90s. Thomas Floramonte. Thank you. And
What happened to the junior?
Oh, Floramonte Jr. That's right. Otherwise, it's my dad, and then he does take credit for everything, So if you look me up and you start talking to somebody, you could be talking to my dad. So again, he will say that he did all this stuff. So, but I've worked for pretty much everybody one way or the other, one time or another. But I'm doing a lot of stuff with Roland and the gang. I've been doing the inking the stuff over Mr. Pete on the team up book and the Trump Spore, and we just got done with the rejects that just came out. Boo Boo Earth's coming out. There's a copy. Blah, 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 blah. And co-owner and running of Gablam Digital Printing. So there you go. Boom.
Okay.
Excellent. So everybody's busy.
Keep him busy. Keep him busy.
Infrafans says you guys look like a photo booth strip.
That's right.
I just keep thinking of like the Brady Bunch or whatever.
Yeah, everybody make a silly pose.
Well, I can actually move us down to the bottom.
Oh.
And I kind of like that, except that it covers up Roberta's part of her screen.
Well,
So,
I mean, not much. It's
Yeah.
really not that much, and I can keep a coloring in the middle.
so what
It
you
looks
guys
a
like
little
that?
better.
Yeah. All right, we'll try this then. What if I could I move
Anyone
them up?
agree with me, or is it just me? I like it.
I like it. No, I think it works fine. If I move you guys around on my screen, does that move you on your screen too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. So what else is new?
Well, Batman's out. No spoilers. I haven't seen it yet, but a certain somebody said it was one of the best Batman adaptations they'd ever seen.
I will own that.
Wow.
I'll own that statement.
I liked it.
Did you see it,
I
Roberta?
did. I did. I saw it. It was great.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to see it.
All right. So only me and Roberta have seen it.
I
Yeah,
saw
I've
it.
seen it.
I saw it.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I loved it.
Opinion?
I said it's the best live action Batman movie.
Oh, okay,
That
that's
was
what
some amazing car
That's good
chases
praise.
too.
Yeah. Do you agree with that statement, Roberta, or is that pushing it?
I think there's so much latitude. I
That's a
agree.
no.
I agree. It was good. I don't know if I'd say it's the best Batman. No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I
Well,
hear it's
no,
the best
no.
Batman movie that came out in 2020 too.
I mean, it's been
I've
a
heard
while
that.
since we've had a decent one, so I'd say that.
Yeah. No. Now, so hold on. Now, my contention is the very best Batman movie ever is Lego Batman.
That is pretty good.
I am
It
sorry,
is
but
really good.
that
Yeah.
is a really good movie. So,
And very authentic to the comics.
Yeah,
What's
for
that?
sure. Looks just like the comics. It's really good.
Yeah.
No, I think without any spoilers, one of the things I liked about the Batman movie was that he's a detective. He
He certainly
goes and
was.
does detective stuff. Yeah.
So strangely enough, that was the one point that I thought he was a detective, but I thought the guy. I just didn't feel he did a lot of detective. I don't know. I had to see it again. I saw it once, and I need to see it again because there was a few scenes where I was like, really? Like I don't know. But other than that, it was visually cool. I have mixed feelings about it. I think I do that with movies sometimes. Like I've seen movies where I hate it, then I watch it again, and then I'm like, oh, this movie's great. So I don't know. I'll give.
Yeah, I
was
do
still,
that a lot.
there
Aaron.
was a few lines in there where I was like, I don't really think that's what Batman would do. I don't know. So yeah, but
Did he sparkle? Did he sparkle? Because that's all I wanted Batman to sparkle.
You know, I will tell you this: there was one, there was a couple of really short moments where he would turn and look, and I would have flashbacks to Twilight.
Yeah. What was the neat part? They made it really look not look like the guy until he smiled every now and then. You go, oh yeah, that's the Harry Potter guy, and then
well, that's why he dressed up as Batman and beats up thugs, not because his parents, it's because they keep making fun of the fact that he sparkles. It's like, all right, it's on. What was it? Somebody made a meme of Robert Pattinson, said something like, a vampire really does turn into a bat. And that was pretty good. I was like, that's sick, all right.
That is really good. I didn't think about that. Yeah, it worked out for him, didn't it?
Yeah. Infrafan says 5 white dudes or Roberta's art. Tough choice as to whether we stay on the screen, right?
Actually, it's 4.5 white dudes, by the way. Just
yeah, that's right, really. Ever said Mask of the Phantasm is still the best Batman movie, but the Batman was extremely well done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Herrenberg says, hey, Roland and Company, when you come up here, you can take a photo with the Silver Line subway train. Haven't seen the Batman yet, but I did see the Hyperions. It's like Wes Anderson made a superhero flick. I have not seen that. But if there's a subway called the Silver Line, then yeah, we got to take a picture with it.
Yeah, I agree. Needs to happen.
Yeah. It's funny because if you Google Silverline, you occasionally come up with parts and some kind of fabricators, tubing, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I don't spend a lot of time looking at it, but it's like, hey, wait, that's not us.
Do any of you guys watch the DC animated Connected Universe at all?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Do you watch some of those? Yeah, but HBO Max eventually has not gotten, I think, almost all the movies. So now I looked up and starting to watch them in order.
Yeah, I really like their Batman Year One is one of my favorites that they did. It's not connected. That one's phenomenal.
Some are connected, some are not, and I think I looked online. There's a list of all the ones that are connected, and I think they ended the series with like the Apocalypse, like Justice League Apocalypse. I think was the end of the Connected Universe. But yeah, it was weird that they were doing the whole Snyder DC universe thing, and they were actually doing this other Connected Universe in the animated movies, but no one really took notice. I don't know. They're very loosely connected, kind of, though. So yeah,
they do a great job over there. Very cool.
I do know a couple of weeks ago we talked about the Spider-Man movie that, and I said we couldn't talk about it because I hadn't seen it. I have finally gone to see it, so we can talk about it now.
That's it. So if Tommy hasn't seen the movie, the internet can't talk about it.
Nope.
Yeah. So did you like it, Tommy?
Yeah. No, I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was oddball in some spots, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great movie, but I thought it had lots and lots of feel good moments.
Yeah.
Lots of fan service.
One of my big surprises that my wife Renee didn't know that the other actor, the other Spider-Man, the latest, the other three guys, they were going to be in it. When they popped up, she got all giddy. She's like, I didn't know. And I'm like, how did you not know? It was on everything. How did you?
Right.
Yeah. And she goes, you didn't tell me. And I'm like, oh, I just thought you knew.
Yeah.
Every
friend says getting to go to SC Comic Con to do some book signings and sell art.
Oh, really?
SC, I guess that's
South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah. I started to say San Diego, but that'd be SD, wouldn't it?
No, it would be
You guys
SD.
need to shoot a Silverline rep down here and hang out. You know what? I have reached out to South Carolina Comic Con about three different years, and I never got a response until recently when someone posted online about what a great show they were, and then I said, "Well, I've never heard back from them." And then literally like the 2 days later, I got I'm like, "Sorry, we're full. Maybe next year." I'm like, "Okay." So, but I've heard good things about the show, but it's I'm not sure who we have in the area that can zip up there. Anderson Roberts said, "Oh." Anderson Robert, did you notice the issue breakdown of the 3-hour the Batman movie? It was paced like a graphic novel. I did not notice that.
Cool.
I did not. I'm not sure whether I think that's a good thing or not.
Yeah, I don't know if that works.
I enjoyed the movie, but I'm not sure if I think that that's a good thing, because I know I've said here before, when someone reads some of my comics and they tell me that that they felt like they were watching a TV show, that's an insult to me.
Really? Let me
It
write
is
that
absolutely. Yeah, let me write that down.
I'm sure I never say that.
Hey, no, not Aaron. Aaron's like, what can I say to insult Roland?
I know he's got.
What can I make?
got a
How
list
can I
on
make
all of us.
Roland cry tonight?
Pops
You
Van
are
Dant says, "Hey,
truly
yo,
evil.
what's up, Pops?"
Pops, how's it going? Good to see you.
Hey, Pops.
Hey,
And for Van says, "Heck, I'll hand out stuff if you want. I got room." Where? Yeah, so that's South Carolina. All right. You got room. So when you say you got room, does that mean you got crashing room? Like you've got bed space or sleeping bag space? Because that can be important. All right, history and comics. We'll get started. I don't see I have sent Chuck a message. I am not seeing a response.
I wonder if he got the time off.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. He
Yeah.
it's possible that he is looking at for another 30 minutes. So we'll kill some time for 30 minutes. Maybe he'll join us. Bobby Westkiewicz says, "Hello, big dummy. Y'all have a good night. Share y'all on Facebook at home. Thank you so much, Screw Loose. Appreciate you." Infravan says, "I can move a few of the hostages out of the basement to make room."
Oh boy.
oh, nice.
Pop says, "I'll be at Grand Rapids Comic Con in April." I've just met a quote unquote met a guy online who has said he was going to try to help me because I told him one of the things that I really wanted to do is I would like to do some shows in places that I've never been. I've been down here, been doing the Florida shows for pretty consistently for going on 10 years. Well, I don't guess 10 years. 8 years, 7 years. And so, it'd be nice to get out and do something in Indiana, a state that I've never been to. Michigan. I've never done a show in Michigan, right? I'm doing Pennsylvania for the first time this year.
cool.
I'll be there. Yep. Three Rivers Comic Con, which is June. Oh, where's my calendar? June 4th and 5th, I think. March, April, May, June. June 4th and 5th. So I'll be up there for the first time ever in the state of Pennsylvania. So I am looking forward to that. Never done one in South Carolina, never done one in North Carolina. So
You done one in
That needs to happen.
Washington State?
I've never done one in Washington State. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Hey, listen, don't be surprised, dude, if I call you up and say, "Hey, you got floor space?"
Eh?
Yeah,
We can-
that's one of the things I was talking with BJ about. I'm like, what I need to do is find out where all the Silverliners live,
Yes.
and then find the show near them and say, "Hey, I'm going to come crash at your place. Let's do this convention."
Yeah, my computer came out with some.
So I'm going to make you work, and you're going to give me a place to stay.
That's
See how you
right.
I expect to be entertained.
Uh,
And cook
Pop
dinner.
says daylight saving time is messing everyone's schedule. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. And then he says Mark Hodges runs a solid show, and I hear he takes real good care of his guests. So I don't know who Mark Hodges is. Pops, which show does he? Are you talking about? I'm guessing that might be the one he with the Grand Rapids Comic Con. Herrenberg says, "Hey, Comic Talks with Pops in April will be at Steel City, April 8 to 10, and the new Cause a Con in Beckley, West Virginia. Need to get to Michigan soon. Infrafan, because your boss knowing where you live always works out. Yeah. Yeah, then Grand Rapids is what he's talking about. So, all right, so history and comics. You guys interested in comics that have history elements in them? Yay, nay?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think. Yeah, if I've
Like Steam Patriots, for instance.
Like Steam yeah, very much like Steam
Very
Patriots.
cool.
I don't know. I mean, modern. I like fantasy comics that have fantasy history. Maybe I'm trying to think if I read any comics with history.
I'm trying to think if I do too.
Like actual
Fantasy
historical
history
stuff.
Counts. I think
What does?
fantasy history counts, right?
No, it does
No?
not. No,
Why not?
because we
It's
don't
a
care about the
mythos.
history of Middle Earth. It's not real history.
It's not.
It's relevant. All right, fine.
Well, those guys think
Fine.
it is. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's not real history.
Mm,
So
Oh,
right.
so you say they don't exist, is what you're saying? So history comics have to be based off of people that are real. Is that what is your definition?
well,
And do they be accurate?
no, I mean something like Sergeant Rock, right? Sergeant Rock is set in World War II. Obviously, Sergeant Rock is not real, but it's
there may have been a Sergeant Rock. That'd have been pretty cool.
It's set in World War II, so it's more of a. I mean, people want to call them war comics, but I would say that they would classify as kind of a historical. But because you often get a lot of truths in those.
I like the World War II Captain America comics. Does that count? Do I get any points for that?
I
is what it says.
No, Infrasound says love Western comics. Yeah. Fred, what's up, Fred? Fred Corto says saw the new Batman movie. 3 hours of boredom.
Oh,
Halfway through the movie. Oh my god!
right.
So there's.
Well, at least he got a
Thursday.
nap.
Yeah, there's a big thumbs down for that one.
well, it's as soon as it came out, there was people that thought it was the best Batman movie, and the same
Yeah.
amount of people thought it was the worst
Yeah.
Batman movie. So,
Yeah, I have seen.
but it's not about every movie, you know. Like,
Well,
come on.
and you don't, yeah, and you hardly hear anybody saying, well, it was a middling of the way kind of movie, right?
All I know is whether I liked it or didn't like it, it will never stop them from making more Batman movies.
That's true.
So
That
it
is
doesn't
true.
really
Whether
matter
it's
if I liked it or
unbelievable.
not.
It doesn't matter if you like it; they're
No,
gonna
not
make it.
really. They're gonna keep making them.
Marvel's
sure.
Gandhi, was that really a comic? Marvel's Gandhi?
Marvel's Gandhi.
Yeah.
Is it?
So
Is it?
I never heard of that.
what about? I've never heard of that
I
one
was
either.
gonna look it up now.
Yeah. So World War II is probably the obvious, right?
Yeah.
Historical fodder for comics,
Did
right?
you guys ever read I never read the Nom. Did you guys ever read the Nom?
Oh, I did. Great book. Yeah.
That was Marvel, wasn't
Am I
it?
the only one that read that?
Yeah, I think that was a little too.
Curtis, I think you're muted, dude. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I think I read like one issue of it, but that was a big deal. That was like what 85, 87, something around
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
Yeah.
Marvel?
Oh, that's right. You might have been a wee lad.
Yeah.
Uh,
There was a Marvel's Gandhi book.
Oh, I have
Oh.
never heard of it.
That's weird.
The Nom was really good. Yeah, it was a great book. I've actually read some veterans read the Nom and said that it was probably a really good, accurate, fictional presentation. It was
Yeah.
fictional, but it was a good fictional presentation of the war there. So
I did, strange enough, there was one comic that it's historical. Okay, so there was a comic called Marzi, Marzi. I found this library. It's the only place I've ever found it. And it was about this girl who grew up as a young child in Poland before the communist regime fell. And all she did was write these like short stories of just being this young child growing up in a communist country. And then and eventually the strips did, from her point of view, talk about the fall of communism, which apparently I guess was kind of, wasn't this huge bombastic thing, but it did. And so that was historical, but it was historical through an child's point of view. It was really
I
interesting.
love that.
Yeah, it was really fascinating.
well, that's a little bit like Persepolis. Anybody read Persepolis?
I think I did. I know that's the black and white one. That was
Yeah. Yeah,
And Mouse too.
yeah,
Mouse,
and
yeah.
of course, Mouse.
Mouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It took me a while to finally read that. I did read it and liked it, but I kept hearing about it and kept missing it. I finally read it.
yeah. So
So-
everybody on this has read Mouse, right?
Yeah,
I have not.
it's great.
Wait, Tommy, you haven't read Mouse?
Cat and mouse.
Not
Does that
quite the
count?
same thing. Yeah. It's.
I'm not into to history kind of comics. I'm just not. Sorry.
Okay. That's all right.
Mouse feels more like a journal almost. I mean, it's kind of cool.
I was just kidding, Tommy.
I used to
Nobody
read-
even blinked, Tommy. I removed you from the stream, and nobody even blinks.
Oh, I didn't notice.
You're
I
like,
did.
you're like he's gone.
Just go.
There-
Got time.
I take that back. There was
Bye, gotta go.
of historical comics I used to love, and I can't remember this artist's name. And I get him from the library, and I'd like to try to hunt again. My library seems to get a lot of comics I don't find in comic shops. I don't know why. So I just like, but he would write stories on like the assassination of Andrew Garfield. He would write it on Jack the Ripper or these murder cases, but he would write the stories as a matter of fact. So it wouldn't be a story. It would be like he'd almost be presenting, this is the evidence, this is what happened, this is the case. What do you think? They were absolutely fascinating story, and he would go all over. He even wrote one about these people like back in the late 1900s or whatever, or early 1900s, like 1902, 1904, like apparently there were this couple lived in a house in the middle of a field, and they would bring in people who wanted to stay, and then they would kill them, put them under a base. I mean, and this is a real case. And he's like, yeah, this is what happened. I'm just like, what? And so I was hearing the one about assassination of James Garfield, kind of, because I didn't know another president was assassinated. I don't know. I can't remember if he succeeded or not. The attempt
Wait,
on it.
which one of
Andrew
American
Garfield?
president?
Spider-Man?
No, Andrew Garfield.
In real life.
He's alive now.
Wait a minute. So, Roland, you're not going to cut Curtis off now for saying that?
Too easy. I'm out.
yeah. He takes himself out. All right, we gotta.
Garfield happened in Washington D.C. in July 1881. Garfield was shot in the back by Charles J. Guiteau at 9:30 a.m. less than 4 months into Garfield's term as the 20th president of the United States.
So,
Yes.
okay. So here's something that you may not have heard of, and this is one of those. Anyone ever heard of the curse on the presidents? The American Indian curse that who. All right, so I don't. We'd have to Google this to get this right, but in 1841 or 1840, Andrew Jackson, right, was elected president. Now, Andrew Jackson was known as the great Indian fighter, right?
Yeah.
When he was elected, they put a curse on him, right? And every 20 years from that time, whoever was elected president died in office.
Wow.
And you can look it
Okay,
up.
I haven't heard that.
That's
yep.
kind of weird.
So he was 1840. So 1860 was obviously Lincoln. 1880 was clearly who'd you just say it was? Garfield, right?
Yeah, Andrew Garfield. Yeah.
I forget who it was, and I can't name them all right? But 1900. Look who was who was elected then. 1920, 1940, 1960 was of course Kennedy. 1980.
They missed it again.
Well, that was it. They said Reagan broke the curse because if you remember, they tried to assassinate him,
And
but
survived.
they did not succeed, and that broke the curse.
Yeah.
Well, we should ask Pete because he knows all about American history.
Oh, yeah. Fascinating stuff.
And so he probably knows why this happened. So tell us why this curse happened, Pete.
Hey, listen, he
because
probably
we weren't
knows
there to
more
look
about
after you
American.
anymore.
He probably knows more about American history than most of our 20-year-olds do.
Or more than I do, I'm sure.
So it all started to go wrong for you
Yeah.
when you got rid of your overlords.
Yeah. Thank you.
The overlords.
I just looked that up. Yeah. Richard Gary. Yeah.
I distinctly remember we were very peaceful with the Native Americans. We had no issue with them.
Really? So if I find one over here and ask them, what do you think they'd say?
Oh, we're starting to fight right now.
They'd be like, "Oh no, those guys are great. They had pretty red
Oh, that
coats."
was cool.
It
We knew it was all jokes and fun.
was, wasn't it?
Just went a little too
All right.
far. I get it.
So we got a few more comments here. Hyper Potato says Western comics are my second favorite. War are the best, like Silverline's latest, Wolf Hunter. Woohoo!
I do like Western comics, and they're very hard to find good Western comics today. Older ones you can, but today there are still.
I think because just as a genre, it's not terribly popular. So
yeah,
people want publishers want to do the popular stuff. Jackson Rennick, what's up, Jackson? Still trying to get Jackson on the show too. I'm waiting for Batman to show up on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I imagine that will happen sooner rather than later. Does steampunk count as history? For example, Lady Mechanica set in Victorian England, also westerns like Jonah Hex. I would say, what's that?
I said that's a good point.
What do you guys think?
No.
It's an odd
Adjacent.
It's not that honest.
I think that's part of the problem is that it's all made up. That's
what I was going to say.
There was a comic book, and I think Aaron would appreciate this. It's a Japanese
it had no sound
manga.
effects?
Yeah, but it's funny how they do it. It's a Japanese manga where it takes place. It's all about the French Revolution, and it's like super historically accurate. But the interesting thing is the creator hates onomatopoeia. He doesn't want any sound effects. So what he'll do is he'll actually put panels that really represent the sound effects. So like if somebody's getting strangled and it's like the sound of the rope going taut, it's like he'll have an extra panel of like a bed sheet being torn because he feels that evokes the same,
No way.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Somebody's getting somebody's getting like a wall getting crushed, and then he actually will show two cars colliding, even though it has nothing to do with the French Revolution. But he's like, that evokes the visceral nature of that sound and the human psyche. So, but that's an interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if you can imagine that,
it's
the same thing.
The coolest thing that I saw they did, that was crazy French, wigs from that period.
Oh yeah.
He actually he has his art team, and he has like a library of all these wigs as separate assets, like perfectly rendered. And then whenever they have the heads, they just like copy paste it, just so that they can get like the perfect, visualization of it and meet their deadlines. It was really
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. Jackson says Nom was phenomenal. Agreed.
Yeah.
As does Hyper Potato. The Nom was great. Michael Golden art in those early issues was incredible. But
love Michael Golden. One of the best ever.
Yeah. Those, I'm telling you, if you guys can, I don't know if they're in the cheap boxes anymore, but if you can find them, that's very much something that you should.
And that was Marvel Comics.
Yes,
put that
it
up, right?
was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Infravan says there was a Gandhi comic. I was just kidding. You know, Fruit
There
Bat
was.
says I may have read an issue or two, barely remember it. I'm going to assume Fruit Bat's meaning Nom here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Herrenberg says I was just going to say Mouse and Persepolis before you mentioned them. Yeah, those are often considered more of the literary, comics. Obviously, they are well loved in universities. Marjani Satrapi is the one who did Persepolis.
Yeah. That's about Israel, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
No, she's either Iranian or Iraqi.
Okay.
I think it's Iranian. She was she was a little girl when they had the Islamic revolution. Basically, they were all the women were like our women, our Western T-shirts and stuff like that, and then they had the Islamic revolution and put them all in veils.
Now that I
and
think
stuff
about
like
it,
that. Cover them all up. Yeah,
I think I did read that comic. Now that storyline, because I do remember a comic talking about that. She's talking about the change and that there was this sort of police out of force. I bet you that was the one. Yeah, I did read that then.
Yeah, she ends up going to I think to Paris for college and stuff like that. Yeah.
Would you folks consider Prince Valiant a historical comic? I mean, in the way that Sergeant Rock is a historical comic? I mean,
I would what?
No.
No?
No.
Yeah, I would say no. I'm not even sure what, because it's more like Prince Valiant's more like Robin Hood, right?
Yeah.
Well, like King Arthur, I think, kind of. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't put Robin Hood as a historical comic.
Not up there with like Flintstones. That's a historical comic.
That's not accurate.
That's true.
It's true.
Facts.
Facts.
Well, maybe Conan.
Of course,
Conan's
you saw it on
historical.
CNN. It has to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Herrenberg says the 300 definitely a history comic. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Good point.
That's the guy I'm thinking of. And they mentioned a few other times. If you guys ever find any Richard, I don't know if he does comics anymore at all, but if you ever find his stuff, all of them are fantastic. Just grab any one. They're all self-contained. They're all super addictive.
Yeah, everyone's telling you who this guy is.
Yeah. He was great.
Gary.
He did this, and I don't. It was funny because I kept finding him and finding more, and I go back to the library to be another one. How many things did this guy do? And so every time I found a new Rick Gary comic, I'm like, oh boy, so because I didn't know how many he wrote, I was just grabbing them off the shelf.
So, one of the things that I was still hoping to pepper Chuck with is there's a guy. You guys know who Wayne Van Zandt is?
Not familiar.
Yeah.
I know I'll tell you why.
What's that?
I know the name.
Yeah. And it's a shame because I think more people should know Wayne Van Zandt, but Wayne Van Zandt does a lot of war comics. He I can't remember who he did them for, but I know he did a lot of them on his own. But a lot of World War II stuff. I think he did some American Civil War comics. But yeah, he's a guy out of Georgia, but he's just one of those that you just don't see too much. I'll tell you one of my let's go through these comments. And I'll tell you one of my favorite historical comics. Jackson says Marvel did do a Pope comic.
I think that.
I got Hyper. Right. Hyper Potato says like, subscribe, back to Kickstarter. Absolutely. It's Batman. Far Side has cavemen. That's history.
Yeah.
Wayne took over the Nom after Michael Godin. Thank you. Okay, yeah. That's probably where I first saw Wayne Van Zandt's work was in the Nom.
Wasn't the Nom like only 50 issues? I remember it not being super long. Like I think it wasn't more like a pretty self-contained story, like 50 issues.
I don't remember. It may have covered the tour of the main character. I can't remember.
Yeah. Now I'm because I remember reading it and saying that it actually was.
Phil Leon says, "Hey yo, Silverline crew,
What's up?
What's up, Phil?
So you guys all know who Tim Truman is, right?
Oh yeah, great artist. Really
Yes,
great
absolutely.
artist.
He did a book called Wilderness: The True Story of Simon Gerty. It is no one knows who Simon Gerty is, right? Everyone knows who Daniel Boone is. Simon Gerty is West Virginia's Daniel Boone,
Oh,
essentially.
okay.
Right. So so here's the thing. He did this graphic novel called Wilderness. Really, really good. I highly recommend it. The state of West Virginia recognized it as an official historical telling.
Wow.
Yes, of it. So it is the well, at one point in time, I don't know if any I'm not aware of anything else, but at one point in time, it was the only graphic novel to be recognized by any state in the union as an official telling of part of their history.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, called Wilderness. He also did another one called Tecumseh about
Wasn't his first name William Tecumseh?
no. No, that
Maybe.
was a different guy.
Yeah.
What William Tecumseh Sherman was a
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm getting it from. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Middle name.
Those are two different people. Tecumseh, I think, was a Pontiac Indian. I'm not. Don't hold me to that one. What else? What other history comics can you guys think of? I heartily recommend those by Tim Truman.
Well, I mean, in manga, there's of course tons of samurai ones and ones about different shogunate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
so my
There's so
question would
much
be,
history.
how historical are those?
they have some that are very like specific to like a
Yeah.
specific warlord, and
Really?
like,
Okay.
Oh yeah.
yeah. And then they have ones that are like within that world or that time period.
It's
But,
weird too, because I'm always kind of amazed that the Japanese they like them, but to a lot of the Japanese, I mean, a lot of the samurai are kind of seen as more like a bully type of class back in history. And
Well-
that they're not. I mean, there's good and bad. I mean, same thing with knights and soldiers, but a lot of them, I even watched the history on the war where they unified Japan. Nobunaga, I can never say that guy's name. Started out there was so much stuff happening. I mean, there was so many warlords and people like fighting or whatever. It's like it seems like a part of history that you could write samurai stories in that period of history forever and not cover everything like World War II. There was just so many things going on.
I think Nobunaga's one that may have been the one that brought Christianity to.
I'm not sure. There was a
yeah.
there's a Netflix series called like The Samurai, The Age of Samurai.
Oh yeah,
That was pretty good. Because I've heard of him before. That series just helped me put in context, like, oh, okay, these are who, and like connect the dots. Because I've heard these names so many times before. So
Phil Leon says Tecumseh was Shawnee. Thank you, Phil.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've read it, so yeah. The that's that. I mean, there's such a long history. I had to ask because the samurai is a lot like the Japanese version of the American's cowboy. Right?
yeah, a lot of them get kind of connected.
Yeah.
I think they were kind of at their height during the same period, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think roughly. And the interesting
roughly
thing is the modern day Yakuza has its connection to the samurai, right?
Yeah.
So what you see is that the samurai became the Ronin, right? Which are the master of samurai. So it's just like any war, right? The war happens, you have these guys with the skill set, and they can't apply their trade anymore. So they became criminals, right? And the Yakuza is the name for a bad hand in gambling. And so that's why when you look at the different gumi, the different clans of the Yakuza, they have family crests just like the samurai. So when you're in Japan, if you're part of that clan, you actually can have like a lapel button, and if you have the lapel thing, people know you're from that group. And so it's like a big thing if you walk around, which is no different than having a family crest back in those feudal times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was that sort of I don't know why there's such, but there is a lot of crossover with like American cowboys, or like what the idea of the gunslinger and the samurai. And I think, like you said, it was all, for one, they were kind of a lone warrior, but I think it was also sort of like that unique skill with like a sword or a handgun. Even though when you watch stuff in the Old West, like did they do like the showdowns in the street? Like no, that's all Hollywood or whatever. But the idea of like somebody who was uniquely skilled at shooting a firearm was the same thing as somebody uniquely skilled at a sword. And they just seem because I've seen lots of stories of cowboys and samurais intermix a lot, and I think it's that same sort of. So and it could have just yeah. So.
Absolutely. Talking about Wayne Van Zant here again. It said he's done several military history comics: Civil War, World War II, Battle of the Bulge, I think Red Baron, and then he said most recently he did Katusha, Girl Soldier of the Great Patriotic War for the Dead Reckoning imprint. So I'm glad to see that.
There is a historical comic I do want to read. It's on my list to buy. It's done by KO Comics. It's about a female sniper, I think, in the Russian military during World War II.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I can't. The guy who Garth Ennis wrote. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's called not maybe Sarah, but maybe I'm messing it up. It looked really good. Anyway, it's on my list to buy. I do want to read that.
Of course,
one, so, yeah.
I'm reading it at the moment. What?
Are you really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna try and find it. Hang on. I've got so many comics here.
Yeah, because that one looked really, really impressive. I got another one. He did an Old West comic. The KO also did an Old West comic called Seven Strangers or something, or Seven Sins. I think it's called Seven Sins. That was really cool. It was completely kind of like, Old West with like kind of supernatural stuff, but I liked it.
I wonder if that's a takeoff of Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
How far back would you guys say something has to be historical? Like, would something 20 years ago, because that's based on a real life incident, be historical, or does it have to go even further back?
I almost think it goes. I know it sounds weird, but I almost think it goes by decades, not centuries. Because I could almost say like writing something. I mean, I graduated in early 2000s. So I consider historical now. Like a few weeks. Yeah, I know.
It depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Because for me, the 80s is really where, if I was reading something in the 80s, I'd say, oh, that's history.
It's another world.
That's history.
Something that happened in 2010 is history. Before they were born. So
I think it's just people's perspective. I mean, I know a lot of people who consider before that. I was born in 75, so I mean, anything before that, I consider history. Now, I don't know. Again, it's an interesting question because when I was in high school and even at college, I got most of the history I learned about was in early 1900s at the latest. World War II, we kind of reached up to like there and then stopped.
Really?
Like, yeah. There was one teacher in my high school that our class has so much fun learning. He did take 2 weeks out to teach us about Vietnam, which is just crazy that he would do that. But they asked what war, and we said Vietnam, and he did teach us about that. I've watched shows on Vietnam. That is one of the most convoluted wars. The amount of pieces that are moving in that war. Wow. I had to watch that show again. I'm like, I think it was Ken Burns, Vietnam. It's like, I need to watch that a few times there was so much stuff going on there.
Just watch
84 issues. Okay.
MASH. Yeah. Now MASH was a Korean war.
Yeah. Korean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for that war. I was just saying it's kind of like
I passed on.
You get history. You get
yes,
interesting facts told. In a very. It's a way to enlighten people without preaching at them.
Yes, right. Yeah. No one wants to be preached at, right? Hyper Potato says the Nom ran around 84 issues. Originally, each issue a month had passed in the main character's tour of duty. I remember it was something like that. Fruitbat says Kurtzman and Eisner. I'm not really sure what that's a question for.
Kurtzman, I think, wrote Mouse, and Eisner didn't. Eisner
no. That was Art Spiegelman.
Spiegelman, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
What did Kurtzman write? Because it sounds like he wrote something with little animal critters.
Harvey Kurtzman.
I would guess it's Harvey Kurtzman and of course Will Eisner, but I'm not sure what the questions are.
I think Will Eisner wrote stories about his own personal history, but I don't know if he wrote historical comics. I know he wrote Contract with God, and some others, but I don't know if he wrote historical comics,
which was kind of about homeless people.
Yeah.
Herrenberg said, the comic that you were talking about earlier is called Sarah.
Yeah.
Inverse Fan says it's a fascinating topic to adapt a story where history takes such a drastic change. One person has to become another in order to survive.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's wouldn't you guys say that's what kind of alternate history is?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love alternate history. I read a lot of alternate history in prose format. Harry Turtledove. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
I remember him. I
Yeah,
don't know what I read, but I was like a teenager.
yeah. You probably read The Guns of the South. That was his.
Sounds
That
like
was
something I would have
yeah.
read.
That was his big one. He had it had Robert E. Lee on the cover, the kind of the traditional image of Robert E. Lee, but he was holding an AK-47.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
And-
awesome.
That is
and,
kind of cool.
the basic story was it's South Afrikaners discovered the secret of time travel, and so they traveled back in time and tried to give the Confederate Army automatic weapons. And yeah, a lot of them wouldn't take them because they couldn't trust them. And then ultimately what they ended up doing is supplying Jackson's army. Stonewall Jackson didn't die. They supplied Jackson's army with the arms, but not the ammunition. So they had to come to them for the ammunition because they didn't know how to make that kind of ammunition. So
Yeah, not at that time.
yeah,
It's funny. Me and my friend have talked about if somebody was actually able to go back in time with even an AK-47 and a few clips, he could just decimate entire armies. People don't realize how powerful those guns are.
yeah.
I mean, you could just
Well,
if you hide and just
a few clips. No, he wouldn't really decimate an entire army. That's not enough shots.
well, it might be. But I was just like just how fast and like you see how many shots go out. You know, it's funny when he was talking about war. So I was going to say, does the Iraq War feel like history to you guys?
I was
It's-
going to sneeze. No.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
to me, yeah.
right? It's been
Yeah, even
was
though
in
we've
the- that was
lived
the
through
90s.
it, I guess. Yeah, 90s. Because I was thinking like that was kind of my, I guess, big war, kind of like, you know, the Generation X had Vietnam. I guess we had Iraq and 9/11. I guess is our
Yeah.
kind of big thing, unless something happens over there currently. So
Yeah, Fruit Bat said Harvey Kurtzman did a lot of World War II stuff. so.
okay, all right.
Here's a good question. I like this question here. Infrafan says, how long does it take for a culture to digest an event? It feels like, because we're moving so fast, history seems to fall into place by the week these days.
That's why I
It
was asking about
does.
the Iraq War. That's because I was reading that and I was yeah, I don't know. It feels.
It's a good question. Really.
It is a good question.
I mean, the fact.
I mean,
like,
you know,
go ahead.
so I guess technically yesterday is history, right?
Yes.
So whatever happened, I mean, you can say the Russian invasion of Ukraine is history.
Yeah,
It's still ongoing though. So is it
It-
history?
yeah.
You know,
It's still
we don't-
writing.
So
Still
hold
happening.
on. So here's where we pick nits, right? So it is still ongoing. So we don't know the result of it, right? But we know that
Yeah.
it happened. So we
Yeah.
know that the invasion happened. We just don't know the result.
Yeah, 2020 is considered historical now. The pandemic.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right.
going to be
Well,
really,
sure.
uh,
That makes sense.
which it's still kind of going, even though we don't seem to be feeling the effects, or it's not being reported. as
Well,
much on the
Peter
news,
would
but
take
yeah.
offense to that. I think.
That's all cares.
Well, we just packed it all up over here and shipped it to England. We just assumed they didn't have enough of it, so you know, you're welcome, dude. I guess.
Thank you.
No,
Well,
strangely enough, we're lifting our mask mandates this week here. That's why I feel so weird. Like,
Oh,
is it
that's
over?
weird because we lifted ours and then put them right back.
That's what I get a
Really?
feeling is going to happen.
That
But
kinda stuff.
it's weird, yeah, that they lifted it, and so I'm actually walking into places and like, am I supposed to be wearing a mask? Am I not? What? Who is so? Yeah,
I'd
now
say
I'm all
it doesn't
confused.
offend anybody to wear it.
It's such a
Yeah,
force of habit
nobody
right now. I
cares.
just put it on automatically. I don't know. I'm so used to it anymore. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, they're
And
not required
I don't
anywhere.
feel okay without it now. It's like,
I
Really?
feel it's a little weird.
you
Yeah,
know, like yesterday I was at the grocery store and someone just coughed in the row I'm in. It's just like,
And then you go,
Yeah.
you just can't even.
Yeah.
Like,
For me,
no.
when the pandemic hit, I went to pick up food for the first time, for my wife. She wanted In-N-Out burger, so I went to the drive-through, I should say. And some guy was in like my blind spot with a mask walking by my car. And I wasn't used to the mask at that point. I was, holy cow, this guy's going to carjack me. He's got a mask on.
Yeah.
I stiffened up and got ready to go at it. And it was like, oh, wait, we're in a pandemic. This is
Right. Yeah.
it's okay.
And I always thought about people who have like bank robbed. So what was he wearing? A mask? Yeah,
A
that's
mask.
not helping.
Yeah.
I have a friend who had tooth problems and missing a tooth, and he kept delaying it. And he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm wearing a mask. I don't have to worry about getting my dental work yet.
Nobody sees him.
Yeah.
Hey, Roberta.
Yeah.
Jerry Bingham said to tell you he said hi.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry,
From you.
come see us.
Yeah.
This is via email, so I'm gonna keep working on him, trying to get him here. But yeah, he said to tell you he said hi.
Aw.
Let's see here. Herrenberg said Kurtzman did Two Fisted Tales and Frontline Combat War Comics for EC, so that's where Graham Nolan got the idea for his current crowdfund title, Two Fisted Tales.
Okay.
I love that title.
Yeah, I do too.
That's a terrible title. Come on.
You don't like it?
No, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
It
So
whoever's been doing their images for that crowdfunder, those have been so great.
Oh, really?
Because they've got the cover and they've just been taking these images of all these from movies and stuff like that
Yeah.
and sticking the comic book in their hands.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And
Like Schwarzenegger holding it or something?
right,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny. That's
Oh,
funny.
it's and that they just keep popping up, and I'm like, no, that's really, really good. So
That's cool. That's
yeah.
really cool.
Herrenberg said another more recent example is Joe Sacco's Palestine. I haven't read that one.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. What about all right? What about it, Pete? Can you think of any comics that address British history?
Oh
That-
Christ! No, not really.
Really?
I mean, World War II.
I mean, World
obviously
War
would
II
be-
is its own
yeah.
thing, and it's always cropping up in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't have, I mean, that's world history, isn't it? So,
I would think
I
of
guess-
anything like
I guess V for Vendetta. It's not history, but it's
based on historical
inspired by
event.
the
Yeah.
what is history to us now.
Yeah.
And Watchmen's inspired by what's going on, isn't it? But it's not history.
Mhm.
What don't they have a few comics on like a lot of some of the medieval wars or whatever? Maybe more characters around that setting, maybe not particularly about the specific war.
That's just what I'm trying to think.
Yeah. It's like again, I'm like you. I'm like I'm sure they're out there, but they just escape me at the moment.
There's a Spanish or French guy, and it's not been translated to English, unfortunately. But it's called Valois, Valois,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's about Renaissance France and Italy, and the characters in that. And if you do get to check it out, the art is insane.
Really.
He
Yeah.
is incredible.
You know, the funny thing is, come to think, when you're talking, I think I read a comic. Now, I am sorry if I get this wrong, about the Borgies. I can never say it.
Yeah.
Borgias.
That
Borgias,
was the Italian code, the sort of Italian, like that kind of became the mafia of the city. I think it was
They were
by-
like a mafia family, became popes. Yeah.
yeah, Milo Manera, I think, illustrated that of one of them. That was really fantastic. I think, and I remember reading that. So yeah, it seems like I see a lot of historical comics
Hell
in
was-
Europe.
From Hell was the Ripper, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Good point.
yeah. So even though it was like a fictional take on it, it's still based in
Dramatized,
history.
yeah.
Yeah.
Furia Francis? Is that the artist's name?
For what?
For Valori?
Oh no, it's Jaime Cal. I can't pronounce his surname. Let me find him.
Oh,
on
Calderon.
Instagram.
Yeah, Calderon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I found the covers, but I don't know any.
Well,
not
you'll find it on
interior art.
Instagram. He's on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah.
So, strange question. What do you guys think about? Would you guess? I guess sci-fi or history. That one of my favorite comics is Life and Times of Martha Washington by Frank
Oh,
Miller and
yeah.
Dave Gibbons. But it almost seems like a
Phenomenal.
historical comic, even though it's in the future. It's
Mhm.
almost telling like an historical overview of like America's evolution in the future. I don't know. Some comics almost feel like that's a history comic, even though it's not the current time frame and
Yeah,
it's
that's
part of
right.
history. But
what
the way
about
they
a-
present it like a historical comic.
What about a book that was of
Yeah.
its time and is now historical? Like, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, a book that took place
Yeah.
in the
That's-
1950s, and now it's been a while.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. So, or what about this, right? So, any of you guys read Scout? Tim Truman's. I love Tim Truman. Tim Truman's Scout. Anybody read Scout?
Yeah, I read it a little
Holy
bit.
Curtis.
think-
Okay. So the first issue of Scout, I use this page and I use this first couple of pages in my class. The first issue of Scout says 1999.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then it explains. Remember, Scout was done in the 1980s, right?
Yeah.
And then it says 1999, and then it goes on to briefly describe what has happened in the world to establish what the setting is, right? So that
Yeah.
was written as futuristic in the 1980s, right?
Yeah.
Well, now we read it, and 1999 is in the past, right?
Yeah.
So what is that?
That's like George Orwell's 1984,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Or yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the past now,
And
right?
I think
Or-
I think Fahrenheit 451 is supposed to take place in the late 90s, early 2000s too. So that would be considered historical.
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Alternate
and that
history.
story,
Alternate
no.
history, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's what
alternate
that's what I
history.
tend to classify it as. It's alternate
Yeah.
history because obviously it did not come to pass. So this is now alternate history.
If that's the class,
Yeah.
if that's the case, then has every superhero comic that came out from yesterday all the way back alternate history? Just saying, you have to be
If it,
consistent.
it's funny if it took place in like I would say Spider-Man, like Spider-Man and the Marvel comics, take place in New York. I could argue that, but when you have Batman, it takes place in Gotham, a fictional city. Yeah, I don't know. But then again, it's supposed to be America. I mean, it's Gotham in America, and like
Yeah.
Metropolis in America, because they still reference America. That's
Yeah.
the thing that always cracks me up. Like Superman is a hero of Metropolis, and he raises the American flag. I'm like, well, where's Metropolis in America? Like, like that's, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a good one. Would facts from Sarajevo work?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Kubert, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think that was Joe Kubert.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that
those
was
are Kubert, one of those later things.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that was one of the things he did with Scott, or wasn't it? Platinum? Was that not a Scott Rosenberg thing?
Was it? I don't know. I just remember that was a big deal when it came out. That was
I
really
don't remember. I should know.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I'm not 100% sure on that.
most of the Joe Kubert comic I'm familiar with is his Tor comics, which I have. I have the bigger books of his
Yeah,
Tor. I was like,
those aren't
His
historical
fantasy.
either.
they are too. They're
Are you
historical
sure? Are you
about
sure?
cavemen. Are you sure?
Well, you know what? I wasn't there, so I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. I mean, considering the white hair, you might have been. I mean,
Herrenberg says ancient British history. Marcosia did a comic about. Okay, I never know. I know I've read this thing, but I don't know how to. Is it Boudica?
Bodicea.
Well, there's no I in the in part. How can be it Sia?
Bodicea. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's not a
It looks
Sia.
like Marcosia. That's what I'd say.
No, not that one. The afterwards.
After.
Boudica.
Oh,
Boudica. Bodisa.
maybe it's a Budisha.
Well,
I
there's
don't
no
know.
I in it.
Say it with me. Say it with me.
Oh, it's a Celtic warrior
Oh.
queen. Aha.
Duh.
yeah.
Duh.
Sia.
No, it can't be Sia.
It's
It cannot
probably
be Sia.
Boudica.
Boudica. I like that. I'll go with that.
I'll go with Boudica. That sounds about right.
Boudica. Yeah.
Unless all of the letters are silent. And
It's Bodicea, but it's fine.
it's Boca.
pronunciation by committee.
I
Yeah. This is the way the dictionary works these days, right? They just make stuff up and put it in there.
gonna
Max
ask some
Driver says
experts about
U.S.
that.
What's that?
I'm going to ask some experts about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max Travers says U.S. Stevens too, but maybe memoir is walking a different line. You know. Oh, here we go. Herrenberg says it's pronounced Boudica.
Thank you.
I don't know. Pete said it was something else.
No, I said Boudica.
Yeah,
I
he
think
did.
he
He
said
eventually
Boudica.
did
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yeah.
did it.
After he stopped saying "see ya."
Bodicea.
Okay, yeah. Hyper Potato. Abraham Stone was the book Kubert did for Rosenberg.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the
Okay.
facts from Sarajevo. Yeah, Abraham Stone. But they were really close around the same time. I'm not sure which came first. I just know that they were around that same time. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Max Travers says memoir. What it would memoir be history?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
Yeah.
You see how the modern state of journalism, that's kind of what's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, where did you get this information? Oh, from Tech9 Cat 99's blog. Like, that's not
Yeah, right.
journalism. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another good question. How do religions play into history? DC Comics based on Greek mythology count as historical if at one time they were believed to be true?
Depends. I mean, I would say, like, I'm a big fan of Wonder Woman, but I don't think her comics are historical, even though she deals with the Greek gods. But I would say if they are telling an actual myth as accurately as they could in a comic, yes, I would say it could be historical within the context of the religion at the time. That's a hard one because
Yeah,
the
it's
whole
tough.
thing would be fictional as is. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if you were making the comic for the Greeks and
Yeah,
ancient Greece, would they believe it? Would it be historical?
it would be. Well,
No
it
one
would
was
be
really
factual
there.
to them.
Well,
Yeah.
not to get struck by lightning or anything. What about just biblical comic books?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now that would be because it would because there's some comic books that we may find fictional, but they find completely real.
Well, yeah. I would say for those who don't believe the Bible, it wouldn't be historical, right?
Right.
But for those who do, it is historical.
Yeah.
And I didn't get struck by lightning, so I'm cool.
Yeah. Herrenberg says, speaking of religions, there are a bunch of Hanukkah graphic novels. I did not notice that. The latest one is 2021's Shield of the Maccabees by Apples and Honey Press.
Cool.
Yeah,
Oh, Lieutenant Blueberry. Yeah, why?
Yeah,
Of course, Lieutenant
Yeah.
Blueberry. I forgot. I've got all of them on my shelf in there. Lieutenant Blueberry.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Morbius. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of. Now this one I don't
Lucky
know.
Luke. Now that
I don't
'cause
know Lucky
that's-
Luke.
Lucky Luke, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a somewhat humorous strip, but I could be wrong about that. I think it was a European strip, but I'm not sure. I have heard of it. I had to look it up. I mean that was up there with Asterix and what's his name?
Obelix.
Obelisk. Yeah, I mean that's not historical, even though it's based on historical, or maybe it is. I don't know. Depends on how you see the era of the Vikings. Would you guys consider? I know it sounds weird, like Tintin historical,
I was thinking that earlier too, because that's very.
because it deals a lot of historical themes in it.
I think the same way that Indiana Jones is historical, right?
Yeah,
Kind of similar,
yeah, I kind of thought so too. I was thinking of that, like, yeah, I could see that kind of being Tintin being a little more historical.
Road to Perdition, right? That was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was in the 40s. I think that was.
I think it was 20s, maybe. It might have been. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
the
comics
era-
based on historical.
No, I think you're right.
What's
it would
that,
be
Pete?
the 20s.
They're comics based on historical society, aren't they? Not necessarily on
Specific
historical
characters.
events.
Yeah.
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 Good point. Is the settings historical versus the actual
Yeah.
story?
event, and it's not
Yeah.
based on a historical event per se.
Yeah.
I think for the petition, I think it was the 20s. I think you're right. I think that
Yeah,
was
Prohibition.
Prohibition. Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's I think that was right.
Got a great family prohibition story. Y'all want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yes.
And that you could call this history, right? So where my family is, they're really close to the Missouri state line. All right, I mean literally within, like, from where my dad's farm is right now, and he's a little further away from the ancestral home.
Yeah.
He's about
Oh,
5 miles from the state line. And the ancestral home is a little bit closer than that in the hills, right? Well, the church that my family attended was even closer than that. It's probably, I'm guessing here, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 to 4 miles, right? So, and of course, if you do any kind of genealogy, farmers have big families. So, like, my grandfather was one of 12. Right, he was not the youngest, but he was either 10 or 11. I can't remember. He was a twin, so I don't remember if he was the first twin. If he was the first twin, he was 10. If he was the second twin, he was 11. And then they had a younger brother, who, by the way, I never knew his real name until he got to be an older man. I always just knew him as Punk, Uncle Punk, because that's what all of his siblings called him. He was the runt, right? He was the punk, and literally, we just all called him Uncle Punk. But as he got older, I found out, oh, your name's not Punk. Okay. So this goes back to my grandfather's older brothers, right? Not my grandfather, because he would have been too young during Prohibition. But my grandfather's older brothers, they were all in church one day, and federal agents came in the front door of the church. They jumped out the windows of the church because it got in their horse and buggy.
Wow.
And started racing towards the state line, while the federal guys were in their, Model T or whatever it was. So they're in their Model T chasing my two great uncles in a horse and buggy to the state line. Now they had to get to the state line because there is something about jurisdiction. Once they crossed the state line into Missouri, they couldn't touch them, right? Needless to say, they were doing some illegal stuff with liquor. But yeah,
which that did not work.
And my aunt is the one. My great aunt is the one who told me this story. So she would have been the younger sister of the brothers, right?
That's crazy.
So, yeah,
that's
Okay.
awesome. I was gonna say it sounds like a scene from a movie, but it sounds like a panel from a comic book.
Yeah, I know.
Herrenberg says Asterix and Obelix weren't Viking; they were Gauls and Celts.
They were called the Romans.
Resisting the Romans, or they were pranking the Romans, like
That's right.
Boudica, but fictional, of course.
Okay, that makes more sense because he had the wings on his helmet, which was okay. Yeah.
And then Frubat says, so what counts here as a historical comics? Is it a fictional tale set in accurate history, or does it need to be a historical tale accurate to both the time and story?
And
I think that's one of the things that we're kind of kicking around, is that what if we're talking about historical comics, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Because I have old X-Men comics that take place in the 70s. Are those historical?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Curtis brought up a while ago. Like, all comics, technically, if they're written during a time era of the 80s, 70s, or any time, they would be historical.
Yeah.
In some fashion.
Well, I would think that we don't read them as that, right? We obviously read those as the X-Men. I would say that for it to be a historical comic, it has to deal with some kind of historical event or specific setting, like Steam Patriots, for instance. I think that's not a historical comic, but it's historically based, in that it's set during the American Revolution. It's alternate history, is what it is, right? It's steampunk, but it's alternate history.
Yeah.
Max says, Max Travers says that Prohibition story would make a great historical comic.
Totally.
It would.
It would.
Yeah,
Maybe not a great filmed
story.
chase because it would be a little slow, but you could make it exciting on paper.
Yeah.
I the thing about it is just imagining these two Arkansas
Yeah.
hillbillies in a cover, in a horse and buggy running from someone in a car.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just
They
makes
pull
me
up
laugh.
next to him and they're like, "Can you stop? Could you be following them?" That'd be pretty funny.
Jackson Ray says, nope, historical.
He was talking about the asterisks.
Yeah. And then Hyper Potato says, my favorite historical comic is DC's Viking Commando.
Viking Commando.
The Hermer says there are lots of Joan of Arc comics. Even the Umbrella Academy's Gerard Way wrote a Jeanne d'Arc story for the Femme Magnifique anthology.
Yeah, there's a lot of Joan of Arc type stories.
Yeah, all comics would be history in one context or another. The Cat and Mouse would be a historical document at some point. Dust in the wind. Yeah, so I think that we have to discount that. That just kind of that sounds like the Wednesday Whammers now, just kind of getting silly.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I think historical comic when you see it, but I mean, technically, yeah, anything's history. So I think, if it's based on a historical event, or it's a fictional story, like he said, but it's trying to represent the history accurately, I would consider that historical.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, it's like, isn't there that rule in at least in screenwriting? It's like based on historical events means it's pretty accurate. Inspired by historical events is like how you kind of skirt around the issues, right?
Yeah.
You can
That's why
always-
when he said 300, 300 is historical comic loosely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's based. I mean, I read the history, so I mean, most of what happened did happen there, but it wasn't as like dramatic.
Yeah, Xerxes wasn't
What?
Xerxes
Really?
wasn't like 4 feet tall.
Well, they actually said, for what I read in the historical thing, is they actually stayed. The 300 Greeks stayed there to fend off the Persians, so the rest of the Greek army, could make their escape. And so they held off the Persian army at the hot gates so they can make their escape. The 300 story carvers is like, these guys are going to go up and just fight the Persian army. Like, no, there was more of a strategic maneuver to hold them off. And I think that's kind of what happened. But Frank Miller's always done that. He's taken, and I think he took that story like a lot of people, turned it kind of like an Old West type of story, like a tall tale type of thing and stuff. So that's always took it as.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I was reading something not too long ago. They piled the bodies, they stacked them up and made kind of a wall. They used the bodies kind of making a wall after one of the first assaults or something like that.
Oof.
So,
Yeah, that was actually in
the next one's coming up. I literally had to crawl over the bodies of their comrades to get there.
Wow.
Yeah, that was actually, there was an actual battle at Thermopylae. Yeah. But as far as we know, now I can, historical records are skimmed, but Frank Miller.
Herrenberg says there was an actual battle of Thermopylae. Yeah.
I mean, we're even finding evidence that we actually think there was an actual battle of Troy, even though Troy was written by Homer, as nobody could figure out if it's fictional. But we have found bits and pieces of what we think are remnants of a war where we think Troy was. So there could be some truth to that. Whether or not it was started by Helen, the gorgeous woman, that's a whole other, But we do think it was may now actually be based off a war, but it's still up in the air.
So, anybody have favorites? I've already mentioned my favorites, the Tim Truman stuff. Anybody have any favorite historical based comic that comes to mind?
I like the Rick Gary stuff, like I talked about. That was
Rick
my
Gary?
favorite stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that stuff.
Tommy doesn't read any because Spider-Man doesn't count.
No,
It's history. I read it last week.
I know it's history in that context. I read it yesterday, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
say, if you're like specific history, I still like Mouse. I mean, I know that's kind of like general, but that is such a singular story, and just
Yeah.
not just the actual story, but visually, it's so the format, the way it's done, it's just so unique, and it's kind of one of those things where you can tell that it's more about the storytelling than the art for art's sake, and in that sense, it's kind of like what they say, greater than the sum of its equal parts.
Yeah.
You look at it, it shouldn't feel so great because it's really basic, visually, but as a whole, it's a great
Well,
book. Great book.
Yeah, and it's Art's dad, right? It's story of
Yeah.
his
His story of his family history.
Yeah, his mom and dad surviving the concentration camps.
Yeah, and he kind of
or just Hitler in general.
Yeah, and then the after effects, and then even
Mhm.
like parts from his indie comic books, or kind of zines and stuff in there. So it
Mhm.
has, which I really think makes it seem bigger in scope, kind of like what Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons did with Watchmen, where they put like all that supplemental material. There's stuff in there that really doesn't fit into the story, but thematically it really tells a bigger picture. And so,
I was surprised. But you is studying kung fu. Has there been any historical comics based on the history of kung fu or whatever? I know they made the movies Hitman that were loosely based on that gentleman.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with kung fu is it's so tied intrinsically with folklore and tall tale that trying to balance the two.
It's separated out for what's real and what's
but that's kind of like, but that's what makes it so popular is when you have something that's so grandiose, it gets reinterpreted each generation, right? So that's why it stays relevant. So yeah, let's put it this way: there's a very famous kung fu master named Wong Fei Hung, who there's a ton of movies about, and they depict him a certain way. And then when I was in Hong Kong, my grandmaster who his uncle trained with him would tell stories about him, and it was very different when you hear about the real stories about him. He wasn't a bad person, but it's just not the same thing as these movies where they kind of apply this kind of bigger kind of persona. When you hear about the little things about him, it's very interesting. But
even the Ip Man stories are like more. I mean, they're historical about his life, but they seem to be kind of like pushing a little bit of a tall tale. Like the stuff he did. It was interesting. I watched a documentary on some guy investigating the actual death of Bruce Lee, and they were talking about the guy who became Ip Man. And they showed a picture of the actual guy. He looked just so kind of like just a matter-of-fact guy. I mean, again, you see Jet Li playing him, and then, oh, wow, and then you see it was Jet Li played him, right? Or am I thinking?
Donnie Yen.
Yeah, sorry. And, but then I see a photo of him. He's just like this kind of... just dude, just kind of, he was older in the photo. But
There's a reason why you hire actors, right? Because it's like you've seen the photos of Billy the Kid, right? And you look at Emilio Estevez, right? And then you look at the real Billy Kid, like, ooh, road miles on the face over there,
Oh yeah, he was not the looker you would think, and that definitely. History's not kind to some historical figures, that's for sure.
Not at all. And then there's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is a whole separate story.
Oh my
God. Now that is true. That's up there with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Inspired.
That's my favorite right there. That's my favorite.
Considering how my friend works at a library, and he actually had somebody come in and ask, was that book with Abraham Lincoln fighting vampires? And because he thought it was true, there was actually based on a book. Like there was a book about it, and he's just like, what do you say to that guy? I mean, it's like,
yes, it is. That's what.
Yes, there is. And this is historical, but he thought he really did.
My favorite one is. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
My favorite one is the thing people use now is they go, we can't. They say, did that really happen? They go, well, there's no historical proof that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Prove that it didn't happen. There you go.
So Herrenberg said Jonathan Hickman did the Manhattan Projects for Image, all historical figures in it: Oppenheimer, Einstein, Fermi, Van Braun, Truman, many more. Okay, so did anybody read that?
Yes.
I have not read it, but I've heard of it. Did you like it, Peter?
I hated that.
I've read it. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
I couldn't stand the book.
Really?
Oh man, I'm like, what? Yeah, it's too. I think I was expecting something different.
Were you expecting an actual history comic?
Probably. Yeah, I think I was probably went into it with anticipating more history than is there.
Yeah, there's
I didn't read it.
There's no history there.
Yeah, I took the comic as a sort of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type concept
that's
of
a good way of
taking
doing it,
figures
yeah.
together. That's
Yeah.
what I took it as, but I haven't read it yet. So
I also was not real fond of the artwork. I don't know. I don't
Oh, Nick
remember.
Pitara. I thought it was. It took me a while to get it, but no, I really
Yeah.
like him.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't super fun. Who'd you say that was?
Nick Pitara.
Yeah, I like his art in general. I don't think I realized that he did that.
I think he did. I'm gonna double check it now. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
no. I mean, I don't know. It's been a long time since I read. I bought it with one of those bundles, and so I read a whole bunch of Image stuff that I had never read before, and that was one of those that I just went, meh.
it was
I
weird.
like
I
it for
had
the-
that
for the
happen to
numerous
me.
The Einsteins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was an
And-
artist for.
and see, I got confused with them all the time. I'm like, I don't know what the heck's going on.
It was funny as art. I used to was really into Rick Leonardi when he did stuff for X-Men, and he's kind of some artist that I like, but he kind of pops up randomly. And he did a comic called an Alien versus Predator comic. I was like, oh, excited, but his artwork didn't look as good as before, and I don't know if it was the inker or what. I don't know if it's changed, but I even compared the old artwork. I'm like, no, the old stuff seems better, and I don't know. Artists change, they do, but Mark Silvershoe kind of did that for me. I liked his old stuff, and then his new stuff. It's okay. I mean, it's still there, but I like this looser interpretation. You were talking like you like that artist, if you don't like it in that book. Sometimes it'd be the same artist, but it'd be a different inker or colors
Yeah.
or something about it just doesn't. It's
I
like
did-
that's not what I remember.
I remember the colors being pretty garish.
Mm.
and
Some of those
that-
Image books can have very garish, bright colors in their
Yeah.
comics. They do.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at it to remember what it was that kind of turned me off with it. But yeah, I would say that's. I mean, it has a historical title, the Manhattan Projects, obviously, but there was really not much historical about that book.
No. I think he was just using the characters almost as fictional characters.
Yeah.
to
Now here's
do-
a weird question here. Fruitback. Okay, now what do we? I think we're just going to toss this one another
Yeah.
row. Now, what do we consider comic that is a historical retrospective of a comic universe? Darwin Cook's New Frontier from DC. Or
That's
yeah,
now that
that's not a history.
it's not a history. It's not a history comic. No, I would
Yeah.
say no, but it's maybe you could say like a kind of a Fakaspa or a fake historical comic. I mean, it's mimicking a historical comic, I guess, in the context of a fictional universe. I don't know. I like New Frontier. I don't even consider that. Would that be historical? I thought it was just another take on those characters, but now I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I guess it's historical retelling. But how many times have they? I think they've actually seen more comics retelling the origins of the DC characters and the Marvel characters. I see
Yeah.
tons of stories retelling the origin of Superman in different ways, but not many that retell like Spider-Man or.
So, what about
Origin.
you, Roberta? What historical comic do you like?
I don't know. Sorry.
uh,
I've been trying to think of some and I haven't yet.
so,
Yeah, you always ask.
Pete, what about you?
I'm reading The Lion and the Eagle at the moment by Garth Ennis.
He does a lot of historical stuff.
Lion and the Eagle.
Yeah, it's just come out from Aftershock.
Okay, cool. What is that
That's-
about?
That's a story I don't know anything about. It's historical. It's World War II, but it's in fighting the Japanese. So I don't know anything about that. Not really. And you've
Yeah,
got these
The British weren't too worried about
the British, but it's the Indian British Army, which technically, as the book points out, is different. It's the same, but it's different. You're not English.
Right.
You're Indian.
Well, it's a lot of stuff we like. I always hear about the war with the Japanese on the islands and stuff, but we always tend to forget that they were fighting the Russians and off the mainland and Asia too. And I think other armies, we just never really hear about them that much.
So I'm enjoying that. Not technically historical, I suppose, but Once and Future from Boom. It's based on the King Arthur,
King Arthur, yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
Very
Wasn't
good.
there a book called that? The One in Future? Or maybe I'm thinking The One in Future King.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
there
not
was
the
a book.
same thing.
Not the
Okay.
same thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Once
right.
in future, right?
Once in future, yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like not really historical. But talking about I just thought the other day about Captain America that so he originally he went into the ice in World War II, right? And then came out in what 60 something would have been when he came out. So that's only like a 20-year window. That's like if Captain America in the year 2000 went into the ice and then came out now. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, and maybe because I'm getting older, I'm like, it doesn't seem that long, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
20 years. That's nothing,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, you have internet on
that's
phones
good,
now?
yeah.
Like, you know, like that's the difference, you know? What's
Well, and I think the movies, you know, made it 70 years, right?
yeah.
So he went out in World War II, and then when he reawakened, 70 years had passed.
Yeah. Which would be
Yeah.
much more of a culture shock than
Yes.
20 years.
Yeah. 20 years is like,
Um,
you know.
Yeah.
And they kind of don't play
Oh,
with
look,
that.
hippies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just because they did find him. I always thought, did they ever do any time travel stories in the Avengers comics where he got to go back to World War II just for a little bit? I'm sure they did.
Oh, they did time. I don't remember that story specifically.
that story, but I know they did time travel.
Oh,
Yeah.
time travel all the time. They fought Kang so many times and Immortus. So, yeah. Yeah, here we go. Hyper Potato says, New War comic, Once in Future is excellent. Kasisi, what's up, Kasisi? So I'm not sure. Look how different the world looks before and post World War II. Yeah, I think, it's probably got a point there because it was vastly different from the beginning of the war to the end of the war.
Especially in America, because it brought us out of the Depression and just went to that boom.
Yeah, look at the automobile. Vastly different. Yeah, I mean, my family, I've said it before. Even when my dad was younger, they had one automobile. Everything else, they used horses and buggies and stuff like that. But they literally had the one automobile that they could use to drive to town.
Yeah, and there was a lot
they wouldn't use it for anything else. Now they had tractors, but they had a couple of tractors, but they also still had the horse drawn plows and stuff like that. So. But then they, after the war, they made that shift,
it's funny that he's, so I was talking about historical comics. Like I read a comic called The Comic Book History of Comic Books. That was really good. And I can't remember who wrote it, but it was about the history of comic books. That would be considered, a historical, because it's actually talking about the history of comic books.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great book. I can't remember who wrote it. Again, I used to get a lot of stuff. I need to go back to the library, and my library.
Oh, you're talking about Fred Van Lent.
Yeah, there was it was called The History, the comic book, like the history of comic books or something like that. It was like a play on words, but it was really well done.
Yeah. Infrafan says I was going to ask Chuck, but you guys can answer in the meantime. So Chuck, we're what time is it? We are at that time that I think it's time to, it's time to end the show. Chuck, so Chuck's a no-show. What are your thoughts on history changing the meaning of art? Like how Marvel has changed the Punisher logo since its appropriation. So so the appropriation, so I don't know the whole story behind all this. I just know that a lot of like police and military units have grabbed the Punisher logo, and so Marvel recently changed it.
Yeah, I know.
You're muted, Curtis.
I mean that's kind of the Punisher's MO, right? Is like militaristic action against crime. So I find it kind of funny, but.
Yeah, same here. I'm not sure.
I know
I don't follow Marvel well enough to know what all is going on behind that. I mean, I know that there. I obviously I've seen it in the news. I know that there's some changes. I don't know the whys and the wherefores. And
I do remember seeing the movie American Sniper. And I think his unit in the movie had the Punisher logo as a unit.
Th-
And so I think
this is
people,
a good
when they
question
put it on
here.
the car, it meant
Yeah,
that.
if a symbol changes and gains a new negative meaning, should their creators retain their stance on its meaning, or should they adapt and change to move forward? I mean,
See, doesn't it just get like a nest at some point that
yeah,
you can't get out of?
yeah, I would think so. I mean, we could theoretically put the American flag there. There are
Yeah.
there's some who would contend that the American flag has a negative meaning. So,
Yeah.
so what do we do with that? So
I think honestly,
but obviously they're talking about comic book symbols. So, the Punisher symbol and I can't
still
think of any
just
others.
use it in the context of the comic book. It does to me like a lot of times. I mean, are those symbols? I mean, there's a lot of symbols in comic that get taken out, and I mean, Wonder Woman is a huge symbol for feminism, and so, but it's not like certain people have not used it because of the actual werewolf inclinations of that symbol and that character. They just keep telling stories about it, and that symbol just happens to mean something else in the real world. Too. It means multiple things. That's what I kind of took it as.
Well,
So
one of the biggest ones that I was just talking to some friends the other day about this was there was a Japanese manga called Blade of the Immortal, and Blade of the Immortal, the character has, and I don't know how, with our social media, I have to be careful what I say, but the symbol is a 4-pointed symbol that is Buddhist in nature, but was appropriated by a guy over in Germany during a certain period.
Oh yeah, the swastika.
Yeah, and he changed from that symbol. That's actually originally a Buddhist symbol, and he flipped it and used it for his thing. And so the character who's a samurai who has that on his back, when they localize the comic book, every issue they put a forward saying, "Hey, we know what you think this symbol means, but this is the actual historical context." And that's,
I've been reading the.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, but that's the thing, right? Is I mean, we've talked about this at length, on off air, and I won't go too far into it, but that's the big question, right? Is how much do you want to cling to a symbol if other people don't agree, and how many times do you want to argue with somebody over a symbol if they don't agree with your meaning of it? And that's kind of that's the thing. As a business, that's a tough one. Personally, I think that's up to the individual, and I think everybody's got to kind of respect whatever their interpretation and insight is. But that's a delicate matter. That's a tough one.
Yeah, because I read the Blade of the Immortal, and they explain that in there, and I think it actually meant like the circle of life. This it is a Buddhist symbol. A lot of the original Buddhist symbols were wheels, circle, and that was one. So
Kasisi says there isn't a huge leap between the years pre-home computing and 10 years afterward.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, our generations have seen, maybe even the generations before us have seen the biggest changes in technology as far as historically. My kids, everyone here can remember a time without the internet, right? My kids will never know what the world was like. And baby Silverline, that's about to be born.
Much, though.
What's that?
I don't remember much, though.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it
wasn't the same. It was like it was a modem.
Yeah. Now, but see, I remember even before that.
It wasn't the same as internet, though. It was, chat rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny because I do online teaching, and one of the things my students want to do is come on and start typing at me. And I said, you know what? I'm old enough to remember the bulletin boards, the online bulletin boards. We are not going to do that. If you want to ask me a question, you have to turn your microphone on and ask me a question. I'm not going to let you sit here. I don't want to spend an hour typing back and forth to each other. Yeah, some of them don't like it. All right, we got to wrap up here. Herrenberg says it's way older than Buddhist, talking about the swastika. Sanskrit swastika, which means good fortune or well-being. The symbol is 7,000 years old and represents the movement of the sun through the sky.
Interesting.
Corrected. Yeah. Good point.
That is interesting.
Yeah, Curtis, everybody knew that.
I know, right? Here I go.
Where have you been?
So he's gonna get some tattoos now.
Yeah.
Swastikas. Probably not a good idea, Curtis.
I'll pass.
Yeah.
He'd have to cover up his Yakuza tattoos first.
Yeah.
Yeah, although
Probably-
it's pronounced Yakuza. You got
There you go.
Oh yeah, fix it. You know, make sure we get it right.
Or if you're from Mississippi, it's Yakuza.
Yakuza.
All right, so if you tuned in hoping to see Chuck Dixon, we are so sorry. Not sure what happened. We hope everything is okay with Chuck. We hope that he is well and healthy, and his family. We hope that he just forgot and there's not some emergency that he had to attend to. So we may try to get him on some other time, because I know that Chuck would probably love this topic, history and comics. From my conversations with Chuck, I think that this would be something that he would love. So, Tommy, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Go to infernostudios.com. I got some links there. I'm also on the mostly on Facebook, but you could just go on the Google, type in Florimonte, Florimonte, and you'll be able to find me. And in here on Sundays, except for I didn't say much this time, but mostly.
Yeah, it's because you don't read history comics, right?
Yeah, it goes against history. Yeah, I failed history so many times. I don't history what?
Roberta, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on the Instagram and Facebook under Roby Conroy or Roberta Conroy. I say
Nice.
Roby just in case.
Roby, yep.
Mhm.
Pete, what about you? I need to update this ticker. Apparently, still got February Tommy at Pensacon. Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Type into Google Peter Clinton art, and there I shall be.
That's easy enough.
Yeah,
Lots of
it's
pages
what's
coming
called
our way this week, right?
Trump's pages.
There
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go. Yep.
Yeah. Somebody's just going to hurry up and ink them, and then someone's got to colour them.
Yep.
I got crayons.
Yeah,
We'll be happy to get you.
It's the look
some
we're going for.
photocopies. Yeah. We'll send you some photocopies. You're more than welcome to crayon color them.
Yeah.
we should do a colouring book.
All right.
You know,
That's actually serious. I actually did that.
We print tons of them.
do you really?
Oh, we do. Yep,
I'm
every
not.
week.
I'm not opposed to doing a coloring book. I'm not sure we have that
I'm-
reach for it.
I personally am dead set against it. I don't know.
Well, that's just because Peter can't color inside the lines, and so
I'm
that
just set against it.
No, dead set against it. You want a colouring book? Go buy a colouring book, not mine.
Coloring
No,
book.
no. Everyone
Yeah,
keeps saying to me, "Why don't you just make a colouring book?" Because it's not a colouring book. It's
It
a
is.
comic.
It's a comic book. You're right. There's a big difference. A huge
But if you
difference.
just leave it black and white, they colour it in themselves. That's not the
Yeah.
point.
No.
Doesn't make
No.
sense.
I have lots of black and white comics that I don't
Yeah.
want people coloring in, and I'm not going to color it in.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right,
I
where
think
can
we- I
folks
think we
find
hear
you?
that all the time.
you can find me at Humphrey's Illustration. I even put my last name on there. Humphrey'sIllustration.com or Humphrey'sIllustration.BigCartel.com. That's my store. Facebook.
Except
Same
we
thing.
can't see your whole address there. It's too
Yeah,
loud.
that's fine. Yeah. You get the first part. They'll figure it out. And then the Instagram, Humphrey's Illustration. Just look up. Just make sure you spell my last name RES at the end, HUMPHRES, and you'll find me. It's really the spelling. If you misspell my name, you'll never find me. If you spell it right, I'm like all over the place.
That's usually the case.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Curtis, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Sure. So I'm on various social media platforms, but the easiest way is to go to one of my two websites.
There
You
you
can
go.
go to theshadowghost.com for my upcoming comic book and tigercrane.net for my martial arts school. So that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Trying to get another comment on here. Everfan said Chuck was disappointed in Roberta's lack of historical comic reading and bailed.
Wow, thanks, Roberta.
Chuck,
That was
Roberta and
me.
Tommy. And Hyper
Yeah,
Potato
the-
says exactly what you guys need to
Yes.
do. Like and subscribe and back the Kickstarter if you have not.
And press the thumbs up button. And if you liked it, press
Yes.
the thumbs down button twice
Yeah,
to show us
'cause
that you don't like
on
it.
my screen, I can only see 2 thumbs up and hearts. So there's a whole lot there's a whole lot more people watching than that. So you guys go give it a heart and a thumb, whatever it is on your platform that you're watching on. Hyper Potato says next live stream we dig through Roland's boxes live.
That's gonna take more than one live stream there,
Yeah,
Potato.
I
That's
think
gonna
so.
be a project in and of itself.
So yes, and I'm Roland. You can find me on all the appropriate social medias. Look for me. I'm looking for the closing bumper here. So look for me there. Follow me, like me. I generally will follow you back. Shout out, thank you to our sponsor, Daytona Beach Comic Con. Daytona Beach is happening September. I should have just read the scroll. Oh, I don't have it on there. September the 10th and 11th. Make your plans to be there. Going to be a wing ding of a comic show. Shout out to Orlando Collector Deviants, Kablam, who no ad on the flip books. I forgot. Yeah, because we got 2 covers. So there you go. There's a Kablam ad. So who prints our awesome comics. And if you're in Orlando and you need to find Silverline Comics, then go to Coliseum of Comics on East Colonial Drive. And anybody else have anything before we say the words?
Just thank everybody for that's supported our Kickstarter, and we got it in record time. So thank you everybody,
Man, no kidding.
and sharing it and
Yeah, really.
getting the word out. Thank you.
What are some of the rewards, the extra stuff, or the stretch goal stuff?
We're working on those. Hopefully we'll have some announcement real soon. I think we're going to go ahead and announce the first one while we try to come up with some other ideas. So. All right. Don't forget we have a Tuesday stream. Those guys are a little later than us because they're out on the West Coast, and so that's for our time. For East Coast time, that's 11 to 1. But that's 8 to 10 out on the Pacific Coast, and then be back here Wednesday night, 8 to 10, 8 to 9:30 is what we're trying to do for Wednesday Wham. And remember to. Good night, everybody.
Hey, I'm Alex Saviuk, and I just want to let you know, make mine Silverline.